I want to take this opportunity to, as I did in your chambers, to extend to you my warmest congratulations on your appointment as Speaker of the National Assembly. I have no doubt that you will serve the office of Speaker with distinction. I also would like to take this opportunity to convey to Ms. Catherine Hughes my deepest sympathy on the passage of her mother-in-law. Mr. Speaker, it is a privilege to be afforded the opportunity to serve in the 11th Parliament and to serve the people of Guyana once again, and to participate as one of my first exercises in the debate of the 2015 budget. I have the honor or dishonor of speaking after the Honorable Attorney General. And my learned friends, sir, we are all gathered here to debate a motion presented by the Honorable Minister of Finance regarding the estimates and expenditure for 2015. My friend in his presentation has made not a singular reference to this document. Not a singular reference to the budget. What he did was simply give us some information that is available in the office of the Attorney General without telling us what he has planned for the justice sector of this country. Indeed, Mr. Speaker, the budget speech of the Honorable Minister of Finance is conspicuously silent on any matter concerning the administration of justice. And experts all over the world have told us that there is indeed a strong causal connection between economic prosperity and a functioning justice system. But this budget and this budget presentation, sir, does not ex facie. It is not confined to a 2015 budget presentation, because at page 15, it outlines a 2020 vision for Guyana. This is what the Honorable Minister regaled the House with on the 10th of August. As members of this House, we are all tasked with realizing the common vision of a good life for all who live within our nation. Mr. Speaker, I now want to share with all Guyanese across the length and breadth of our 970 km, our vision of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana in the year 2020. So for the next 5 years, the Honorable Minister of Finance has written some 70 pages, and not a single sentence is dedicated to the administration of justice, to the rule of law, to the rights, fundamental rights of our people that we keep hearing about all the time. And that must be a worrying thing. And I thought the Honorable Attorney General would have used the occasion to fill the vacuum created by this document. Instead, he regaled the minister as his tutor, compounding the problem, Mr. Speaker, compounding the problem. But, Mr. Speaker, before I address my learned friend's presentation, I want to make some remarks about the budget speech itself. Mr. Speaker, the first 14 pages, I moved straight to 15 just now, because the first 14 pages really consist of a recitation of some jaundiced political report of events preceding the elections and post-elections, politically jaundiced from the views of the author. Then there's one page of a report on the world development of the world economy. And then there are some statistics extracted, I assume, from the Bureau of Statistics, which the minister later on in his budget says they're unreliable and we need to reform that institution. But he utilizes 3 pages of paper to regale us with these statistics about economic growth, etc., that he himself says later in his presentation that they are unreliable. But I want to move quickly, sir, back to the 2020 vision. And then there is a paragraph here, sir, about macroeconomic stability. And it has the usual, I heard the adjective fluff being used. This budget, sir, is like a expensively and exquisitely wrapped receptacle. But when you open the content, it's very insubstantial. And sir, right here, the first paragraph speaks about what will happen over the next 5 years. And there is a positive projection of economic growth. And they say that they are committing to low inflation, stable exchange rate. But Mr. Speaker, the ordinary Guyanese listening to me on the loudspeaker, living in Guyana, experiencing 3 months of this government, what have they experienced? Economic downturn. Only in 3 months, economic downturn. We speak here about stable exchange rate. The US rate has moved from 206 to 212 now. That is what the ordinary Guyanese can relate to. And Mr. Speaker, low inflation. Inflation has increased over the last 3 months. But we have a commitment, a 5-year commitment, that all of this is going to be solved within the 5 years. But this is a budget for the year 2015, and the people have experienced your stewardship of the economy for the last 3 months, and the US has increased from 206 to 212. That is the reality. And then, Mr. Speaker, we are hearing how we will get this economic growth. In the 100-day plan, they promised reduced taxation, reduced VAT, reduced taxation. Here the 5-year plan says we will reform the tax system to make it more robust, allowing for reaping of efficiency of gains from greater compliance and an expanded tax base. So the 100-day plan promises reduction of taxes, and here it is that we have a Vision 2020 that speaks to robust taxation and increased tax base. Mr. Speaker, I move quickly over to another part of the budget. Speech. The ICT sector. Great weather is made at page 18. This ICT sector is described in the headline as knowledge-driven government and industry, and I presume that this is going to be the engine that will drive the modern Guyana, the ICT sector. One of the first things that this government did was to shut down and scrap the one laptop a family program. That is one of the first things that they did. So I don't know how we will speak about an ICT sector when you shut down the government, the state's largest initiative that is computer driven. And then at the bottom of the next page, we replace it with 9,000 computers being distributed. We were going to share 90,000 computers throughout this country, and it has been, how much we shared already?
The 9,000 are on their way from China.
And the 9,000 are
we bought.
that we bought. The 9,000 And we were going to share under the one laptop per family program 90,000. Not with our money, obviously, with the state's money. But you are not going to do that. You are reducing it by 90%.
So that you could pay the minister.
You are, because as Basil said, as my learned friend said on there, everybody on that side must get his salary. So the money must come from somewhere. We have 4 vice presidents. The prime minister has 9 security guards.
It's 9, it looks like 20.
Sufficiently important that we get this record straight and that the honorable member withdraws his statement, because there's no way I said anything but anybody else is having a salary like the Attorney General.
I never said that.
He should withdraw that remark and correct it.
I thank the honorable member.
Mr. Speaker, under the one laptop per family program, we have distributed already.
Please,
Yes.
is this you're continuing your statement, or are you addressing the?
I never made the statement that my learned friend is attributing to me.
Check the minutes.
To proceed.
I never said that. Thank you
Proceed.
very much, sir.
What did he say?
Sir, we distributed 54,000 computers. And here it is, as part of a 2020 vision, not a 2015 vision, a 2020 vision. The Minister of Finance is telling the country that he's distributing 9,600, and that will apparently be the key generation in the ICT sector. And then, Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Minister speaks about setting up of institutional mechanisms which will ensure that we have business doing centrally in government using technology. Mr. Speaker, and then he says this, it's a very long journey ahead of us, and the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Mr. Speaker, since 2006, since the year 2006, we have launched an initiative to have e-governance and to amalgamate centrally several institutions so that we can deliver better services to our people. And that is why through the Ministry of Tourism and Trade, we had a competitive strategy. And then we consolidated the functions of the deeds registry and the commercial registry that would have been joined with the land registry. We have already integrated all the various departments of the GRA, and the entire process is now centralized, even in one building. We have an e-transaction bill that is drafted. Clearly, the Attorney General is unaware of it. It is at the chambers. There's an e-governance bill as well that is there. All he has to do is to add the Chief Parliamentary Council. All that they have to do now is to get the consultant to put the little pieces together, because some time have elapsed because of misbehavior of a one-seat majority in this parliament that put economic progress on hold. So, Mr. Finance Minister, this one step that you will begin, we have completed more than 3/4 of the journey. So you have money to spend elsewhere, sir, and your energies can be spent elsewhere as well. Then, sir, I move again to speak about let me speak a little about the sugar industry, for example. There's one paragraph, a 2020 vision. We all acknowledge, perhaps for political reasons, some of us may lack bona fide when we speak about the importance of the sugar industry, but I believe that we express a unanimous view about the importance of this industry. But one paragraph here is dedicated to the sugar industry, and all it tells us is what we know, that we have problems in the sugar industry. It tells us that the Skeldon factory is producing sugar at 3 times the value of the world market. And there is nothing else. It tells us that there is a commission of inquiry, and we are awaiting the outcome of the Commission of Inquiry. Is that the vision of this government for the sugar industry? We will await the outcome of the Commission of Inquiry. The Commission of Inquirers have already telegraphed their findings. They have already said privatize, sell out the place. That is their verdict already delivered in the newspapers. We have a turnaround plan, sir. Mr. Greenidge knows about it. It was presented to the Public Accounts Committee, a comprehensive plan, Economic Service Committee, that can turn around the industry. But that is being thrown out of the window, and we are listening. Distinguished Professor Clive Thomas, a gentleman for whom I have the greatest of regard, sir, but his latest work on sugar is The Poor and the Powerless, a study of plantocracy, sugar in 1970s, from slavery to independence.
I used it.
He is out of, with the greatest of respect to the distinguished professor, he is out of sync with the realities of the sugar industry.
Like the rest
Out of sync. So, sir, there is no solution, no real solution to the sugar industry that will come from the Commission of Inquiry. So if the nation is holding their breath in relation to what this budget holds for the sugar industry, it holds closure for the sugar industry. And then, Mr. Speaker, it is followed quickly by the rice industry, another significant industry in our country. Another paragraph is dedicated to the rice industry. I remember, sir, distinctly during the elections campaign, the distinguished Prime Minister, the Honorable Mr. Moses Nagamotu, accompanied by two distinguished farmers, Jinnah Rahman and Turhain Durga. They were on every television station in this country advancing every solution to the rice industry. 3 months after the rice industry is bankrupt, I can't find Durga, I can't find Jinnah Rahman, and Nagamotu is quiet. The Honorable Minister. Completely stunned into silence. $17,000, $9,000 they promised for bag. Farmers were so elated, sir. One of them, I understand, dropped their pants on the road. You know that. When they heard $9,000 per bag, the police had to step in and charge the gentleman. $9,000 they promised the man. Today, what does this budget say? What does this budget say to the rice industry? You know what solution it advances, sir? It says that we must diversify market. That is a euphemism, is a big word. We all know that we have to get more market. But if farmers want to know when, how, where, I spoke to them. They don't want a 2020 vision. They don't want to hear about increased varieties. They have increased the varieties already. They're producing at 690,000 tons annually, but there is no market. That is what they want. I spoke to them Tuesday. I spoke to the farmers at Mahaika, Maikoni, and at Blackbush only last Tuesday. They have paddy in the factories. They have paddy in the fields. They have paddy at the wharves. On the road. And on the road. Mr. Finance Minister, the Honorable Finance Minister, the farmers want to know where they will get their money, when they will get their money. The 23 billion, I understand, is clouded. It's clouded in a lot of secrecy. I don't know much about it, but they are expecting it. They are expecting it. That is why I'm not commenting on the 23 billion. And, Mr. Speaker, I want to move ahead to deal with the budget speaks to governance. The budget speaks to governance. And under the heading of governance, Mr. Speaker, this is what the Honorable Minister of Finance said to the nation. The government will seek to re-establish pillars and tenets of good governance by placing particular emphasis on strengthening of governance institutions. A constitutional reform commission will be established to begin re-examining the constitution in an open and inclusive manner, and reforms introduced were recommended. Mr. Speaker, I opened the newspapers, saw a very radiant photograph of the Honorable Prime Minister, and all of us know how he likes to be pictorially represented in the press, embracing my friend Nigel Hughes and Gino Prasad, and they have established a constitutional reform commission. What? I immediately called my friend Mr. Bassett Williams. I said, AG, they're undermining you. The AFC is undermining the APNU in this thing here. But Mr. Speaker, more importantly, Mr. Speaker, the Constitution, we are talking about constitutional reform, we are speaking about good governance, we are speaking about respecting institutions of governance, and this is the supreme law of the land, and Article 119A says this: the National Assembly shall establish a parliamentary standing committee for constitutional reform for the purpose of continually reviewing the effectiveness of the working of the Constitution and making periodic reports thereon to the Assembly with proposals for reform as necessary. The last chairman is now sitting as the current President of the Republic. He held one meeting in 3 years, the last chairman. I said then, sir, that he was the first soldier ever heading a constitutional reform committee. And he never came back to another meeting. But the Constitution, sir, speaks to a constitutional reform commission. No, that's a statement of fact. You know that. The Constitution, sir, speaks to a constitutional reform commission. Why are we throwing this document? The Supreme Court, the supreme law of our land, we are tossing it aside. The Parliament, Dr. Jagan, when he spoke, he said this is the pinnacle of decision-making forum in this country. I believe he was quoting his uncle, who said that Parliament is the foremost institution in our governance structure. And why is it that they are ostracizing and alienating this august body from constitutional reform? And then speak about governance. Mr. Speaker, they speak about improve accountability and forensic audits and accounting system. Mr. Speaker, I have to put on record my views on the appointment of the forensic auditors. The Procurement Act, again, we are violating the laws of the land, and we speak about accountability and transparency. The Procurement Act of Guyana tells you how you procure goods and services. It must be done by a public bidding process. It is outlined in the Act. And either Mr. Jordan or Mr. Sharma have taken upon it themselves, severally or jointly, to handpick a set of people and put them to audit state books. First of all, the award, the method by which these people are appointed is wrong, it is non-transparent, it is corrupt, it is nepotism, and perhaps somebody getting a kickback. Because I understand that over $200 million, I understand about $200 million, are going to be paid to these auditors who have been handpicked, by ministers. But worse yet, Article 223 of the Constitution, sir. Again, I am drawing attention to the Constitution because there is a deliberate effort to subdue and violate this document. Article 223 says that there shall be an Auditor General and that the public accounts of Guyana shall be audited by the Auditor General or someone authorized by him. Only him, the Constitution says that. Or he can authorize. So if there was any award of contracts, it should have been done with the authority of the Auditor General. Auditor General. So, Mr. Speaker, we speak about transparent government.
Honourable Member, you have 10 minutes more.
Thank you very much, sir. We speak about transparent government. We speak about corruption, and here it is that you have the biggest act of corruption committed within 3 months of government. Within 3 months of government. And, Mr. Speaker, I want to turn to page 59 of the budget under the caption Consolidated Fund. And here the Honorable Minister continues, like his Mr. Greenwich, to misrepresent what the Constitution and the laws of this country say about the Consolidated Fund. I keep saying over and over again that you have to read the entire article in the Constitution. Words are plucked out. This is what the Constitution says, sir. Article 216 of the Constitution. I got it here.
That's the section we want Ashley with, you know. Are you advising me about it? When you disapprove funds that were disapproved, and the CJ says...
Article 216, sir. All revenues or other monies raised or received by Guyana, open bracket, Mr. Minister, you left that part out, not being revenues or other monies that are payable by or under an act of Parliament into some other fund established for any specific purpose, or that may be by under such an act be retained by the authority that received them for the purpose of defraying expenses, close bracket, shall be paid into the Consol Fund. So, Mr. Speaker, what they do, they delete the entire words in the bracket. All the words in the bracket they delete, and they come to the conclusion that all monies must be paid in the Consolidated Fund. This 2 sets of accounts are exempted here, sir. Where you have an act that allows you to defray expenses and then put it in the Consol Fund, that's one set of accounts, and the Constitution provides for a second set that Mr. Ramjatan seems to never be able to understand, and that is where the Act provides for it to be put elsewhere, like the Lotto Fund. Like the Lotto Fund, where the Lotteries Act says, Section 7.3 of the Lottery Act says, I'll read it to you. I'll read it to you. The Lotteries Act, sir, makes it very, very clear. I have it here, sir. Let me read it quickly for the record of this assembly. 7.1 of the Lotteries Act. Mr. Ramjatan, tell me where, and I want you to say it publicly, because I can read it loud. All monies received from the sale of tickets in every government lottery shall be paid into a deposit account in the Accountant's General Department, and such account shall be called the Government Lotteries Account. And then section 7.3 of the Act says, at the end, this is the Act. This is why you can't get progress in this country, sir. That is why we bring in horses and dogs to fight crimes. At the end of each financial year, there shall be paid into a development fund of Guyana, after allowing for all expenses and the amount reserved for prizes, the amount standing to the credit of the Guyana Lotteries Fund. It must not go nowhere, sir. No provision for the consolidated funds. Yeah. But that's correct. Now, if it is, Mr. Finance Minister, you are so strong, you feel so strongly about it, put it in the fund. Put it in the deposit fund. Now, instantly. Don't defray no expenses.
Honourable member.
One transfer.
Honourable member, you have 5 minutes more.
Yes, sir. Yes. Now, sir, my learned friend raised some issues about the laws of Guyana, for example. The law revision exercise, if he had read the entirety of my speech last year and the year before, he took only one page. He should have read the entire speech where I traced the history of how these books came into being, the entire exercise. It was not started by me, sir. It was started by my predecessor, Mr. Dudnath Singh, under the modernization of the Justice Improvement Program since 2006. It was the first time in 30 years that we were revising the laws of Guyana. It continued after Mr. Singh demitted office by my other predecessor, Mr. Charles Ramsey. And then it was completed by me. There was a team of experts. This entire project was financed by the IDB. There was a team of experts who were in charge of this project. It was always known, it was always expected that we were going to have slippages, that we were going to have omissions, because it's a 35 years exercise of laws and regulations that we had to find. They were nowhere around. You had to go to Cave Hill campus in Barbados, Norman Manley Law School in Trinidad, Hugh Wooding Law School in Trinidad, all different places, the Parliament offices. We had to go as far as the Colonial Office in London to get some of the bills that were missing, some of the laws. We already, the project itself has money for remedial work in anticipation of there to be slippages. And Mr. Speaker, there are slippages. And I have assembled a team of experts. Not him. I assembled a team of experts that are now completing, and they would be finishing within a few months. Well, if I don't have the proper guidance, sir, well, then if I was there, it would have lasted a couple months. But I can't speak for my friend. But sir, the Hugh Wooding Law School, sir, my friend continues to make populist statements because he wants to score political points, thereby misleading the students and the nation about our problems at the law school. The law school, sir, is a regionally driven process, as Your Honor would be very well aware. We are a signatory to a treaty. The government, the agreement which we had that facilitated Guyanese students for a decade came to an end. And then we had another agreement for nearly another decade that expired in the year 2011. And since then, I have managed to persuade both at the Council of Legal Education and President Ramatar at the level of heads at CARICOM to continue the entry into the law schools on the same basis that the contract existed. But obviously that was not the solution. That was only a stopgap measure. The solution lies in a decision at the CARICOM heads of government to hold an inquiry into legal education in the region, which will include, sir, the establishment of more law schools, possibly one in Guyana. So it is a regionally driven process. We are part of a region. We cannot make insular statements about establishing a law school in complete disregard for our treaty obligations.
You have 2
and
minutes.
that is why, my friend...
Honorable member, you have 2 minutes.
Yes, sir. So, sir, my friend, energies will be better spent, and Your Honor can advise him on your diplomatic skill as well. This is not a monkey and back situation. You have to go with proper diplomacy and argue for there to be a regionally sponsored law school. I was going to do that. I was in the process of doing that. And I would have... And then, sir, the last thing. My friend spoke about a number of judgments accumulated. The Rhodesia judgment as well as the NH judgment. The NH judgment, sir, was a 2007 judgment. Mr. Dudnath Singh had appealed because we felt that we should not pay that kind of $2.7 billion, $3 billion. Why is there a haste to pay all this judgment all of a sudden? Why? There is no need. There is no need, sir. I'm concluding now, sir. I am saying that there is no need to pay the Rhodesia judgment. Honor the judgment, but there is a way that you can work out. There is a way you can work out a set-off arrangement with the company. You can. I was going to do all of that, but there must be a reason. There is a reason why they want to pay all this judgment. Somebody getting a kickback.
Honorable member, you must wind up in the next couple of sentences, or
yes, sir.
Take your seat.
Yes, sir. Sir, so as I begun by saying, sir, that this is an exquisitely packaged budget. But the contents, sir, are completely disproportionate with the fancy package and the value that is on its face. Thank you very much.
I thank the honorable member for his statement.